You're listening to The Venomous Fringe, Cryptids and Paranormal podcast and YouTube show. I'm your host, Chris Fringe, and join me with my co-host Sensei as we explore the mysterious phenomena and the macabre of the unknown. You're listening into The Venomous Fringe. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. You're listening into The Venomous Fringe, Cryptids and Paranormal podcast and YouTube show. I'm your host, Chris Fringe, and tonight I'm joined by my co-host, Sensei. Sensei, good evening.
Good evening, Chris. Good evening, all.
And Sensei, it is great to have you here on this Thursday evening. How are you doing?
I am out of my mind. I'm not doing the best today. Which is why I came here to say hello to all of you in the audience. Thank you for tuning in. Stay frosty and be wary of hoaxes. I don't like hoaxes. Enjoy the night.
Well, that being said, Sensei, thank you. And folks, good evening all. It's been quite a while since we have done a live show. I know it's kind of been like, I think it's been like about a month or so since we did a live show, but I wanted to do a little something for you guys this evening, of course, because it is, after all, the week before Christmas, and of course, Christmas is great, holiday cheers and everything cryptid all around in fear. But with that also being said, I think it's also great to explore with the amazing Fringeaholics and everybody here on this Thursday evening. It's been quite a while. So with this evening, we also do have a very special guest this evening. I am currently awaiting, I have to make sure that, of course, some small little technical difficulty. I'll get an update on that pretty soon. But overall, too, folks, with tonight's show, do a little live Q&A, interact with you guys. It's been quite a while since I've actually sat down and spoke with all of you. For one, I hope you all are doing pretty good. Part of this live show tonight is I want to also just go ahead and basically talk view and, of course, cryptids and paranormal as I normally do. A lot of you guys often have a lot of questions, and a lot of the questions that you guys throw out are pretty interesting. A majority of them, if anything, I mostly tried my best to get to them. After all, it is part of the Q&A, but at the same time, with exploration and also exploring the value of cryptozoology as a whole, I think hearing what a lot of you guys have to say in terms of what your beliefs are, what your opinions are on certain things. So that's kind of another reason too why I like doing these type of Q&As, is because I like to interact and get your guys' feedback on certain topics, especially. Robert Salas is in this chat. Good evening, Robert. I just saw your name pop up on here. Robert, you had an interesting encounter, and we were talking about it on a live stream over the summer. You had a pretty interesting encounter. Robert, I'll be interacting with you, I guess, throughout this evening with any majority, or, of course, send me a message on the current activity. But it's good to see that you're doing well, at least. You're in the chat. Hello, Titan. Hello, Ethan. Hello, Jessica. Everybody. Bigfoot, Michigan, Rob. Hello, everybody. Everyone tuning in. All 39 of you guys tuning in right now. 49 at least, or at least what I'm seeing through the live feed. So it's great to have you all here this evening. I hope you all are staying bundled and warm. It's pretty cold, at least cold in the northeast, the U.S. It's very cold out, chilly. It's a good night for the Dogman and Sasquatch to interact and have some bonfires, though. At least in this time of year. It's a perfect time for migration, I would assume. But, of course, as always, I think, even though that the holidays are around, cryptids in general around the wintertime are still pretty good in exploration. I think it's pretty cool to say that with a lot of the activity that is mostly seen in the spring and summer, we interact and we engage, and we find more data, that there's more reports that occur in the wintertime. And some of the reports I've collected in the Northeast, primarily whether it was a couple of Bigfoot reports or it was a few Dogman reports, occurred in interesting times. And one of the cases had involved a situation in the Pine Barrens. One of the things that I like to further go about and explore with the Pine Barrens is that it's not just one specific part of New Jersey, for example. Not for example, the entirety of the Pine Barrens connects to several different counties. So it's a large. It's basically a majority of it's an acre of just pure forest, and people have seen things in that vicinity during winter times. There have been times where there's been mysterious howls and whatnot. And when we dive into other topics specifically, whether it's the Bigfoot phenomena or the Dogman phenomena, there's a lot of connection, there's a lot of similarity. But overall, though, it's a very huge hotspot during the winter seasons. A lot of activity, at least to me, at least. I've also spoken to people who've come forward, whether it's been in the groups or in general through email, who've said that they've seen things also in the wintertime in different regions. Doesn't necessarily have to be the Northeast. It's all over. So it's a very interesting array of reports that occur, and I think these cryptids are all seen throughout a majority of time during duration. I think they're seen all year round. But I think in a sense, though, it would make sense because you have a lot of the other animals in the wild that are migrating. They can, well, hibernating at least, and then you have the cryptids that can easily migrate. There's a migration thing, I believe, at least a pattern that they could use. But yeah, overall, though, that is for me at least, my views, at least in terms of the winter season. So yeah, I believe the special guest. Good evening, special guest. Can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Ladies and gentlemen, I would like to introduce to you a moderator of my YouTube, a very good individual, and someone who he's entered to the team. Me and Sensei are very proud to have him on a board. He is our gatekeeper. You might know him through the moderator route, but I'd like to introduce you to none other than Ryan Tremblay. Ryan, welcome to the Venomous Fringe.
Oh, thank you so much. How you doing?
I'm doing good, man. How are you?
I'm doing great.
You know, it's interesting, man. I think for how it is to have you come on here tonight, it is good to have you here. So I want to thank you again for taking the time out of your schedule to sit and talk with me and Sensei this evening.
Thanks for having me.
Just so you know, someone in the comments section wrote something about an echo. Ryan, how loud is where you're at? Are you on phone, laptop? I don't know if they can hear something in the feedback.
I'm on a laptop right now.
Okay. No, I mean, if anybody hears the echo or the reverb again, just fill it into the chat. But I mean, overall, though, I can hear you perfectly. I heard it at first, but it's pretty good now.
Awesome.
Overall, though, man, thank you for coming on again. It's great to have you here. I hope you're staying warm, man. It's pretty cold out.
Oh, definitely. Well, it doesn't get as cold for me as it does for you guys, so I'm pretty good to go, man.
You know, it's interesting to say because, you know, like when, like I mentioned earlier, like the winter season, you know, you have, you know, this migration with, at least to me, migration and a lot of encounters. Have you heard of similar scenarios too, of course, at least in your region?
Oh, absolutely. We actually get more encounters during the colder weather, not during the hot summertime, which is very interesting because you would think during the summer they'd be out more to actually go after game and whatnot, but no, it's actually during the winter.
And that's cool. That's, you know, that's something that I kind of was taken aback at because when I had heard about like some of the reports that I collected that were being seen in wintertime, I was like, lack of resources, lack of food. There could, of course, be a lot of, like water, at least they could have something, but at least, you know, whatever they could find. But I just found it interesting that a lot of these sightings, especially when it happens to be around the daylight savings time, a lot of people have seen a lot more reports in the mornings as opposed to the evenings.
I think it has to do with a lot like Jess said. There's less people out during the colder winter, you know, so they're bound to come out more.
And I think also
Human interaction would be lower.
Absolutely. And I think too, like it's like one of those things where people who've seen a Bigfoot, just like at 4 a.m., still dark out, someone's leaving to work to go to the plant, and they come out and they see these pair of eyes, and they see a full-on apparition because the moon is still out, and it's in the wintertime, and it's like, it's something you never see normally in that season because everybody's hibernating in a sense. So a lot of the reports too are pretty interesting, and it seems to be like there's been some cases too in the winter too where the activity seems to be a little aggressive. There have been some cases I heard about where Bigfoots have often like loud vocalizations, loud howls, very vicious ones, rocks being thrown out. Certain scenarios, man, in the winter. It's like something about like I guess the time. I don't want to like sugarcoat it or say anything like too asinine, but it's something that also sticks to me in a sense when looking at some of these cases because of whether it's some sort of behavior instinct or just the fact of just whatever. But I mean, I think you can set it all around for like any season in general. I don't think it has anything to do with that particular season, but it's just something that kind of was interesting. I seem to get like a lot of encounters, or at least a lot of incidents appear to be more aggressive or sound like there's a lot of action as opposed during the spring and summer where it's like one of those things that could be relevant or not too as relevant to normal sightings.
Right. I think that could actually be territoriality. When they stake a claim, they want to keep anybody and everybody off of it. So of course we're going to hear howls and growls and all that stuff. So yeah, it's natural. It's just a natural animal instinct.
I would think so as well, especially. And you have a very interesting opinion on like a lot of the cryptids, especially Bigfoot. Like Bigfoot,
Oh, my opinion gets me in trouble.
yeah, I mean, I don't want to force it out of you, but I mean, I'm just simply, for what I've talked to you about, you've definitely had a very interesting mindset on cryptids and whatnot. But one of, I guess, the most top-notch, 100% number one question many can ask as well, Ryan, what was the interest? What started it with you getting into this whole scenario with cryptids?
Actually, that started up as a kid. There was actually this book in the library that I used to check out all the time. It had all these pictures from the Patterson-Gimlin film, and I was just obsessed with that. And I started watching shows like Unsolved Mysteries, and it just grew. As I got older and I had more things accessible to me, I started looking to more venues, and it just became a total obsession. And then, of course, I had my own Dogman encounter. So once you have one of those, you can't really walk away from the world of cryptids anymore.
Absolutely, and you know what? You mentioned Unsolved Mysteries too. That was basically the show that piqued interest. I take it that the Bigfoot episodes were the ones that really sparked your interest, I presume?
Absolutely. When you had Bigfoot episodes narrated by Robert Stack, you had nightmares. It was natural.
That theme song, man, is still stuck in my head. It's creepy.
Oh, it's still stuck in my head to this day.
I think, but you know what though? I think that's what made the show so good. I think is the fact of
Absolutely.
Robert Stack and just brilliance. But not to get off
That guy
subject.
even alive anymore?
No, he passed. He passed away in 2003. That's when they got rid of the show, and that's when they rebooted it.
Oh, okay.
He passed, man. It sucked because it was a very good thing to the show. I mean, it was like Nimoy with In Search of in '70s.
Right. Yeah. Good parallel. Yes.
And that's another dude, man. He recently passed, which sucked. I like Spock.
Oh, yeah. That's a shame.
And you know what's interesting too? The what's funny is that I mentioned Leonard Nimoy, and he had a big belief with a lot of this stuff.
Oh, a lot of the celebrities do believe in this kind of stuff.
And do you think because like of their status as celebrities, whether they're A or B's, like they would talk about it, but certain ones talk about it. Like, I mean, for example, you got Billy Corgan, for example, the lead vocalist of Smashing Pumpkins, who
Right.
had talked about he had seen apparently a skinwalker or a reptilian, and
Right.
it's not every day you hear a certain individual, especially someone who is of an A-list celebrity, I at least think, would be coming out and saying something like that, and not necessarily having nothing left to lose to say, yeah, and I saw that, I swear I saw that. Like, do you think they're just because of their status, man, it just keeps it from being, talked about?
Well, I think they're just really trying to do their part. They're naturally curious like we are, and they want some answers, and they're kind of hoping that their status can get those answers. It
That's
makes sense. It really does.
Well, take a look at not to point out like names, but like I mean like one of my favorite actors growing up, but seeing the drastic change was Jim Carrey, and a lot of what he's kind of done lately, it's like there's definitely something to it. I don't want to talk about conspiracy. That's not what we're doing on the show, but like, it makes you wonder though, man, like about like what do these people see that we as normal people happen to know about, but they might know about a bit more because they might know a few things or two. I mean, I think a majority of celebrities have had spoken to consultants on various movies, and they've done various topic movies. I mean, at least
Right.
to me.
Mm-hmm. Well,
Um,
I mean, they have open avenues that we don't have. With all the money they have, they can pay certain people and grease certain elbows to get some answers, whereas we can't.
and I think also too, like for like Dogman, for example, like
Mm-hmm.
how many werewolf movies have we seen where we have a lot of eyewitnesses coming back saying that we've encountered something that looks very similar to the werewolf from The Howling or the Dog Soldiers?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, there's a countless number of those. Too many. It makes you wonder if Hollywood was maybe preparing us for something.
Would you think that there would be like a thing where perhaps there is some sort of discussion about how perhaps introducing us to these creatures, and then down the road someone who watches this movie will see something like this and then have an opinion and be like, that's something I saw when I was like watching Howling
Yeah,
at 14.
I think it's made to kind of cushion the blow. If we desensitize our stuff we see in movies, then when we see it in real life, we're not so prone to act out real violently or freak out or do something stupid.
Mm.
So it's kind of laying down the groundwork for the rules that we have to use for this.
And that's true. I think for Dogman too, it's such a popular topic. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
Cryptozoology, and I hope I said your name right. I'm sorry if I butchered it. You ask about why are so many people reporting Dogman. I know you said Doggo Man, the comic book. It's like a comic book name. Well, I mean, Ryan, of course I'd love to hear your feedback on this as well, but I mean, to talk about it, I mean, to switch gears, talking about Dogman, one of our biggest topics on the Fringe, and
Right.
you,
I think it's as Sensei said, some of them are bored and some are legit. He's absolutely right. I think some are hoaxes, but I think more people are reporting them because we're more aware that they're actually out there. Before we had no idea. So as we have encounters, people aren't afraid to really come forward like they used to be. They don't, back then they thought they were going to be considered crazy or nuts for reporting what's called a werewolf.
right.
You know, Now it's so common that people just feel at home doing that.
Well, and that's the thing too, because I know that with what Sensei had once said about that, and he's right, I agree, because somebody can easily who had seen something when they were a kid, and it doesn't have to be 2019 where people have seen these things. You have people who've reported these things. They had encounters in the 70s, 80s, and they're coming forward now because they found outlets to talk about it. It's not like they'll be ridiculed. I mean, they could be easily ridiculed because some people, when you get into the whole hoaxer, the whole fabricated story type arc, that's something there where, yeah, it's very common because, how many times have somebody went on a live forum or someone who has went ahead and has said things necessarily that would intrigue someone but would be the biggest of bogus to help get a good giggle, to help put their name on a spotlight to say, yeah, I appeared on a TV screen, I appeared on a video because I did something that necessarily wasn't true, but at the same time, I didn't care because guess what? I still won. How many times have we seen that?
Quite a bit more so these days.
And I'm not gonna, twist the knobs of anybody here. I'm not saying anything that would be in particularly controversial, but I don't believe every encounter that someone has of a dogman, and the reason why is because I personally feel that there are some stories that do not sound too right or do not sound too accurate. But that's the skepticism in a researcher. I'm not just a guy that sits behind the mic and does a show. I research. And that's something you can catch on. You got to discuss it. It's like psychology 101. Body language, observation, even if it's through an email. I'm always somebody who wants to reach out and talk to somebody through a microphone or a phone call to flesh them out, to pick up on what they say. I'm not trying to sound like the human lie detector. I'm just somebody who wants to hear what one has to say. And a lot of the people who've come forward with me, I've detected it, have been genuine. So, I mean, you got to always take an encounter with a grain of salt and look for the apples and pears, you know? I'm sure,
Oh,
Ryan, you would think the
absolutely.
same way.
Yeah, as a researcher, you do have to be somewhat skeptic. You can't just believe everybody. When they tell you their story, you got to actually look into it and watch them and see how they react. And if their story changes, you can kind of tell, all right, that's not really true, because nothing should really change. If they add more and more dramatic detail, that's kind of a red flag.
Absolutely.
It's something.
Which,
Even then, you want to question them on the changes too and see why these changes occurred. Now, in some cases, it can be, the mind blocked out certain details for the time being, but they start coming out a little bit more and more. But also, some of them are hoaxes, and you do have to learn how to look out for those.
absolutely, and I agree 100%. And I think, too, that that's kind of the thing where the line in the sand's drawn. And I think that's something that can be polluted in a type of research basis, and something that you have to bypass with and take in with a grain of salt. And that's why I try to do my best to be honest. I know it doesn't, and I'm not doing it to sound like a you know what. I do it because you got to be at least somewhat skeptical on everything. You can't always believe everything, because if that's the case, then you're just following in the pair of the hare. And it's not good, I think, in a term, because then it just, and I'm not to get controversial, but my point is always take what you believe, but also take it with a grain of salt. Always get a
Mm-hmm.
clear, open mind. I'm not saying you shouldn't have an open mind, but always just, look out for things, especially if you're somebody who can pick up good on body language.
Absolutely, yes. Yeah, you got to look out for the smallest details.
Jay Coop, one of our fellow long-term fringeaholics, asks about more people reporting encounters because of the prevalence of the shows, the internet, and a bit of a less stigma, or because there are more of these creatures around than in the past. This is a very interesting type of question, because we talk about migration, we talk about evolution, but I also think, too, it's a mixture of both, actually. I think, personally, I think that because of the outlets that are available now, thanks to 2019 social media and, of course, streaming services, we can come together to talk about these things, because we have a community of people that can back us up on things in terms of belief, and, of course, those who are open to discuss their encounters. There's always going to be skeptics. Like I said, I don't want to contradict myself on what I said prior, but, of course, I'm saying there's the groups of Brandage, but they're there to help. So it's not like people should fear to not talk about something they can vent out to a community that'd be open to hear them. Now, of course, when you talk about the evolution status of these creatures, I think that there may have been more resources back in this early centuries before the 20th, to where they were able to survive for years. I think now we kind of see more of them, because it's the mixture of we keep growing, we keep evolving as a society, we are building more, we're tearing down more. These creatures are seeing us more. These creatures will be pissed off at us sometimes if they go about it and how we might run around their territory, because it's also territorial in a sense. Now, that's just my 2 cents on it. I think it's a mixture of both, but that's just my opinion. Ryan, what do you think?
I would agree with that. I really would, because we encroach more and more. We decimate whatever we see. That's just our human nature. So of course, as we're encroaching and violating more terrain, these things are going to come out and kind of repel us a little bit, or at least try. It doesn't always work for them, but that's why they get aggressive with us, and it falls in line. It's a sad state of affairs, because humans shouldn't encroach as we do, but then again, like I said, it isn't our nature. So there you have it.
Absolutely, and I agree with you, Ryan. You're right. It's just how we see it. Um, Interestingly enough, for everybody tuning in, folks, this is the Cryptids and Paranormal Live Q&A. If you guys have any questions, feel free to drop them down in the chat right now. For everybody else tuning in, good evening, folks. It's good to have you all in, going into the half-hour margin. I'm Chris Fringe, and I am joined by my moderator and gatekeeper of the Venomous Fringe, Ryan Tremblay. And of course, Ryan, you and I are talking tonight various topics in cryptids and paranormal, and Sensei, the Venomous Fringe, is also here with us this evening in the chat. It's always good to speak to Sensei. Sensei, a very good individual and fellow resource of the Venomous Fringe as well. And of course, everybody, moderators and all, sugar bears, and of course, fellow creatures, it's always good to have all the Fringeaholics here tonight. So, Ryan, interestingly, when we're talking about cryptids, we're talking about Bigfoot. Bigfoot, in a sense, how many types do you believe Sasquatch there are?
I'm going to have to say there's about 7 different types.
Why do you think 7?
Well, you get all these different reports. You get ones that say they look more human. Some say they look more ape-like. Some say they have a baboon-like snout, chimpanzee-like features. And it's just, it goes on and on. It can just be compounded into 7 different types.
I have to agree with that because I've often heard some cases where you hear, and I also think too, especially because we're easy to make easier artist renditions now thanks to advanced technology, where we can go on these pads, we can go on these we can go to make something, do a little sketch on an iPad, and we can make good artist renditions of what eyewitnesses see. And if people can see something like that, if there are at least 9 to 10 types at least, it definitely does make a lot of sense. And I think a lot of these types have been utilized in many of the movies. Ryan, we've often talked about Primal Rage all the time.
Yeah.
And
yes,
how
I love
that's the Oma, and that's, or at least Congo. What do you know about Congo, at least, or at least the Oma?
Well, I don't really know too much about that particular one, but if we're talking about the Primal Rage, though, I would say that that's a very good example of what a Gugwe or a Janoskwa would be like, as somebody mentioned, because Janoskwa and Gugwe are very dangerous. So that would be a great example of that one right there.
I know I kind of went into that with no clutch, but the reason why I asked was because, I mean, when we look at like that type of stuff, we see something that is truly unique and compatible with just brilliance of film making. That could be easily the perfect example of what someone could say as a Gugwe or a Janoskwa, and one of the most vicious ones. And these are creatures that are seen in the upper northern region of the globe. We're looking into Canada, Quebec. There have been a lot of cases, Montreal, for example. A lot of people in the villages, or at least in the Quebec region, have often reported these Janoskwa reports, and it's just a terrifying creature, man.
Yeah, the stone giants.
Stone giants, Native American, no less, man. And even for that being, the Janoskwa seems to be the equivalence of what I'd think would be a fathead dogman would be.
I would say so. Pretty close, anyway. There are some very big differences between the two, but it's pretty close.
Absolutely, and I agree with that. 𝑷𝒂𝒓𝒂𝒏𝒐𝒓𝒎🂂, hope I said your name right, Dub. Why do you think Dogman like to scare people so much, whereas a Squatch seems to want to not be noticed? Hey, Ryan, what do you think about that?
With Dogmen, I don't think they're really trying to scare us purposely. It's an animal instinct. We're strangers to them, we're unknown to them, so when they see us, they do what an animal would do and act on their instinct. And that's to do whatever they can to make us go away. Doesn't mean they intend to harm us or harm to kill us or anything like that. They're just trying to get us to go away. It's one of those things of, okay, you see me, I've seen you, now go. Please leave.
Oh, yeah, no, and that's another thing. And I think, too, when a Bigfoot's, I think, there's a lot of them, at least in the northern region and southern region. Bigfoot's, like any other cryptid, I think, in general, all have these personalities. And, dogmen can be more aggressive, have more of the canine-like instinct. I'm sure when a dog looks at you, a dog doesn't notice you. there's the three different ways a dog can pick up on you. If you go to somebody's house and they have a dog and the dog doesn't, notice you, recognize you, who you are, they're going to approach you. They might feel like they're threatened. They might approach you. They might jump on you. A dogman can have that, sense of holding back in a way and not necessarily wanting to screw with people, but if someone approaches it and they feel threatened, they will approach and will try to lunge at you and do whatever. There have been also
Oh yeah,
cases,
it's their nature.
what were you going to say?
Oh, it's in their nature. It's canine instinct to go on the protective, on the
Right.
defense. So if you were to sneak up on a dog man, he's going to have the same reaction.
And that,
He's not going to know your intention right away.
right, and that's the other thing as well, because you're dealing with a creature that's instincts are dealing with a threat, and sometimes it might not feel threatened, sometimes it will. Same with a Bigfoot. I think Bigfoot's...
Well, we can kind of sum it up this way, too. Take a human, for example. When a person is actually confronted by a stranger, how do we react? If we don't know this guy from anybody, if he just approaches us in the dark, we're going to be a little defensive.
Exactly.
We're not going to welcome him with open arms and shake his hand. We're going to be kind of apprehensive about him. So it's natural. I mean, that's how I would be if somebody just approached me in the dark and I didn't know him, he didn't know me. I go on the offensive and just kind of wonder, what the hell do you want? So I think that's what these things do too.
I agree, and that's something too that I think is truly something about these creatures we learn to understand and try to get a good grip on, but it's just a very weird mystery. But I do agree, though. I think, and I don't want to sound that too biased about that. I'm just saying that it's these creatures. I don't think personally, for at least in my opinion, Ryan, I don't think we've gotten 50%, not even 40, not even 30% completion of what we've done in research.
You're right on that.
And the reason why is because you have a scenario here where we have different camps of research with different belief systems. And I'm not going to get into belief systems as much to be controversial, but my point is that when we talk about these type of topics and we talk about it, it's a very tough thing. It's like sex, religion, and politics. But I mean, the thing is that when there's different types of understandings on what one might believe is a cryptid, how can we use this as knowledge and valuable, valid evidence to go about and say, okay, this could be used to verify that this isn't just a Cinderella story, Beauty and the Beast, the creature in the night running around, just a guy, just imaginary creature, people tripping on acid type story. But I think in terms of the whole thing, about 20% I think we've gotten done in research. And I think that we still have a long way to go. It's just a matter of finding the answers in front of you and getting the idea of the belief system right so that everyone can understand it and feel that this is what they are, and it's not just this.
I agree. I would agree. We have to keep in mind, too, that, known animals such as mountain gorillas were once considered cryptids.
True story. I mean, not a lot of people know about that, too.
Right, and, even like duck-billed platypus, they were also considered a cryptid as well. And today we know them very well. We know pretty much everything about them. So, yeah, at some point we might know a lot about Dogman and Sasquatch, but we'll never know everything.
No. And there's a lot of, even in our time, I think for a lot of people I compare it to like in the early 20th century when there wasn't a lot of cures for things. People who had severe illnesses, whether it was tuberculosis or pneumonia or something that would be really devastating that there's no cure for at that time period, they always thought, I would assume, that maybe one day there'd be a cure, and while now today there is that can help it, I feel in the cryptid community, some can say the same thing, that maybe one day we can have that cryptid museum, that cryptid information that could be official, and that everything's there, but we find the answers. That would be a big thing. It will never happen in our timeline, I don't believe, because that's a lot of history books that are going to be burnt and now replaced to go about to educate the youth and explain to them, well, this is what these things are, and this is why people don't go out into the woods as much.
Yeah, exactly. And if you think about it, would you ever want everything to be completely known? No, I mean, with
No.
Dogman, really, if we were to actually confirm their existence, it could be a good thing, but a bad thing, too. Everybody's labeled them as werewolves, so all these hunters would go out and just eliminate them for no good reason.
And that's another thing as well. I know that there's going to be some questions, I think, tonight about people's opinions on what the whole exposure of these creatures would be. And I know that there's a lot of them sometimes, and it's a good question too. I'm not denying it, but overall, though, I have to say that would be a big negative and a big red flag to exposure. I wouldn't want these creatures, and this is just coming from somebody who, yes, as a researcher, wants to find more answers, but I don't want to find all the answers. That would be, of course, resulting in something that would be a catastrophic event. Let's just say people go out and they just want to start a war with these creatures, and perhaps maybe it just becomes something that's truly out of its world. And then you also got to deal with cryptids that have that type of supernatural-like connection, but not necessarily supernatural, if you get what I mean. Then that's another rig right there of story that you do not know how to go about, because it just contradicts and just makes, instead of going parallel with lines, it decides to integrate with lines, and it makes a total 180 on belief.
But, yeah, such as the Wendigo. If we ever confirm the Wendigo are real, which I do believe they are, people are going to freak out.
Oh.
There's going to be a mass panic.
No doubt. I can understand why some people would tune in to some of these narrated shows with value of hearing horror, because it's a scare factoring of ideas of things, and that's a good thing, because you want to hear about the type of horror and the type of fright that one might deliver in these type of stories. But of course, at the same time, when you find out the truth about these things, it's even scarier, because now you hear all these little stories, and then you come back, and then you find the truth, and then now you're so disturbed that you don't even want to go out into the woods at all. You don't even want to leave your house, because if this creature pops up behind you, you might feel that you're going to die.
Yeah, and the sad thing is people already feel that way.
And that's another thing as well, but I don't know. It's interesting how a lot of that type of thought, though, does really kind of get to you, if it was a scare tactic. I know that there have been some people who've argued that some people think that there's not enough evidence out there, or that there's something that is not enough proof, or that it's all a big prank, a scare tactic by, of course, quote-unquote, power organizations that would, of course, result in some sort of format of public disparity. But I don't believe that. I don't think it would be that far. I just think that these are just creatures with a natural origin, or at least in terms of something of that nature.
And there's just too much to go back on. If you look on in history, and the first people's tribes, they talk about it. They were talking about them long before we were.
Right.
So they're not going to make something up like that to scare people. No, they're not going to do that.
It's too much, I would assume. Well, and to transition into some of these other questions, folks, I just want everybody to know that we're reading you guys' questions as we scroll down. Sensei, if you could also, too, throw us a bit of the questions out if we do miss some. I know that you're in the chats checking them all out. Sensei VF, along with the great other moderators. Shout out to Whispers, Tighten Up, Tanya, Ethan, Left-Handed Poncho, good name, by the way. And, of course, all our other fellow moderators tonight, and, of course, joining tonight. Next question actually is from the Left-Handed Poncho. Hey, Chris and Ryan, do you guys believe the cryptids like Dogman Squatch migrate? Well, I talked about it early. I believe they do. Ryan?
Yeah, I believe they do too. They would have to. Food sources run out. You have to move on and find more.
They won't be migrating, though, to a food store anytime soon.
Yeah, I mean, you got to follow the deer herds. Deer herds move, and follow them, and there you go. You got to stay fed somehow.
That's exactly right. It is a
and no, it's not on humans or missing 411. Just throwing it out there.
Yeah, no, you have to. I think that's an importance as well. Chad goes, Dogman, flesh and blood, or paranormal and extraterrestrial? Now, this is like the $1 million question. If I was to be on Who Wants to Be a Millionaire, I'd probably fail this question because it wouldn't be the right answer. But I'll go into it first because I've talked about it there and there, And for one, this is just my opinion. I'm not going to down anybody's beliefs. I understand that some of us have different beliefs and some of us have different theories on it. But I personally believe that the Dogmen are flesh and blood creatures. And I personally believe that because I look back at the Native American lore. I look back also into the lores of our history with ancestral creatures that were flesh and blood animals that had similar canine attributes to these Dogmen. But also, too, folks, I want you to also note that, in my opinion as well, these creatures, I don't think if they possess some sort of manifestation, right, of it vanishing, or it appears, right? If it does do that, then I don't think it would be a Dogman. I would think that's more of a Skinwalker, that's more of your Wendigo, that's more of other supernatural black mojo juju power. So that's something that I try to distinct myself from. If these creatures were aliens, I would think that people would not be coming forward to be telling their stories the way they are. And I can talk about flesh and blood for like the next hour, but to give you guys the brief gist, I just believe that these are flesh and blood creatures. I believe if you can shoot one of these things, if they can bleed, if they feel pain, if they obviously do things that your normal canine or another coyote or your wolf can do, that these creatures can do the same thing. If they definitely have some sort of flesh and blood attributes to them. I mean, anything that is being seen of them that is of a supernatural realm, I personally feel is something that's not of a Dogman. It's a controversial question. I gave my controversial opinion. You don't have to agree with me. You can respect it. But, of course, I'm entitled to everybody's opinions and beliefs. Ryan, what do you think?
Oh boy, this is where I get some flack too. I actually think there's two different types of dogmen we're looking at here. We have the flesh and blood, because, they've been shot. There's even a story of somebody hitting one of these dogmen with their car, where the body was taken away by MIB.
Right.
So if they're, they would have to be flesh and blood to actually get killed by a car. Now, there are some people that do actually report the ones that just disappear. Now, that could be a manifestation. Maybe it's some kind of supernatural area where this thing manifests and takes form of something they fear. And when you hear about something a lot and it really starts to scare you, well, then a manifestation is going to take on that form. And I think that's what some people are seeing, not all. But yes, I do think for the most part they are flesh and blood.
And I think, too, speaking upon it, the supernatural regions, I mean, we've heard of cases on Clinton Road, which is a haunted highway in New Jersey, and I've been to the road. I've never encountered anything there in particular. I've had friends, I've had people contact me, tell me different wise, though. But depending on if they're just pulling my twig in terms of understanding of whatever the case may be, or they actually did see something. I've had other people who follow the channel who've sent me a couple things as well. And their insights have been pretty interesting because, Clinton Road, as one, is a very odd and strange scenario where if a supernatural type connection in the area, whether it's the work of some sort of satanic cult or the work of atricals or anything in general, supernatural bad voodoo, you have something like that in that vicinity, I'm sure that these creatures can carry some sort of manifestation, but at the same time, I think one would want to have it seen be proved, then of course to go about and believe. At least to me, that's how I would go about it.
Oh, I would agree with that. Yeah, definitely.
Now, oddly enough, though, well, not oddly enough, tighten up. I'm just going through scrolling down the questions. For a lot of people who are putting in questions right now, I'm just scrolling down the questions. We've literally talked about a lot of these, and very good points too, So, question coming from the Titan up: how much will Uncle Sam interfere with the evidence or brought forward? Well, in the good way of putting this, I would think that a bribe, money talks, but as we all know, the bullshit walks. And the interesting thing about it is that if that were to be the plea, I've heard cases of people where they've had some sort of interference. They've had some sort of situation where houses have been broken into. People have had false claims put on them. Mysterious photographs appear on their desktop. Instead of money, they can just sabotage. What do you think, Ryan?
Let's put it this way. If I were to ever kill a dogman or any cryptid, I'm not going to tell anybody. I'll just take a lot
Absolutely.
of pictures and send them out one by one and never speak a word of it, because I know damn well the government's going to interfere and my life will be made a living hell. That's what I think about the government. So,
of course, entitled into it. And that's something that, you know, it's a lot of things. It's a lot of things.
They'll do everything they can to bring you down. You know, you're going to have a bad reputation really quick. And, you know, like Tanya said, credit loss, you know, and all that sort of thing. Man, it's just going to be really bad. It's going to be a bad day really quickly for you.
Oh, I agree 100%. I think it's even scarier when you find out that they're onto you, in a sense, you know?
Mm-hmm. And it's hard to hide your activity from them, too. It really is. That's why sometimes when you're a researcher, you don't really want to put out a lot of information. You know, I'm all for putting videos on YouTube, posting photos and whatnot. But the more you do that, the more the government's going to become aware.
Exactly. Scrolling down, and you know what? I'll tell you one thing, too. You know, Ryan, I think that's kind of the reason why a lot of people kind of run away, in a sense. That's like a scare tactic. But you can't tell 40,000 people the threat in their lives, even though that's basically 10% of the billions of populations in the world, because it's not just the U.S. You're also dealing with foreign countries where the policies are even worse than, of course, you would say in the U.S., for example. You go into foreign governments, or at least in Asia, for example. If I don't know how the system works over there, I'm not from there, but I can tell you one thing: it doesn't sound pretty if one was to find out that, yeah, Bigfoot's in the damn forest, and then, I'm going to get exposed something. Got it on camera.
You're going to disappear.
Yeah, oh, hell yeah, I agree. Something's going to happen to you, and I won't be there to witness it.
True, very true.
J. Coop. I just want everybody to know, too, if I missed your question, I do strongly apologize. J. Coop. Question. Do you guys think that there will ever be a mass sighting, violent or not, with multiple witnesses, footage and pics, like one of those things attacking a logging crew or wandering into a small town sick and hungry? Ryan, what do you think about this? You want to take it away?
I think anything's possible. It could definitely happen one day. I would hope it wouldn't happen that way. But, you know, given what the world we live in nowadays, I would say it could. Yeah, the more we encroach, the more the chances are going to increase that does happen.
I wouldn't really appreciate it if I went, you know, I was on my phone, just, you know, casually on my phone, and all of a sudden I just see this giant creature running towards my house. I would look at it and my reaction would be so devastated. I wouldn't know what to do necessarily, because I'd be sitting there and I'd probably crap myself, because in that situation, if it were to be something violent, I would want to know, like, what's up. But I can't reason with it. You know, I guess in the terms of Terminator, you know, you can't bargain, you can't reason, can't negotiate with it. You know, it's I wouldn't say soulless, but, like, I mean, if this thing is pissed coming at me and I'm on its hit list, then I'm done. I got nothing I can do.
Just take a picture and we'll be okay.
Take a picture, hopefully it doesn't get rid of it, and then yes. But, you know, I mean...
Exactly. Send the picture my way. That way I'll forward it to Sensei.
And actually, if I can get lucky, record it live and make sure that people get the last live bits of it. This is the footage. And everybody who can screen record it, do whatever you want with it, have multiple duplicates, you know what happened. But
there you go. That's a good plan. We'll stick with that.
There you go. Okay, folks, remember that. Everybody listening in, all 128 of you, all right? Please do me that favor. Yeah, but seriously, though, I mean, in the sense of it being, if it were to be a violent outbreak, I mean, to be honest with you, in the terms of, like, how you would go about your typical zombie apocalypse, in a sense, it would be just mass hysteria. You know, if it would be basically, you would have people gearing up with the canned food and shotguns and getting ready to go to square with these creatures. Now, I'm not a big believer in these creatures having the intelligence of doing things that would be out of our way, but I think it also has a lot to do with the fact of how it's being addressed, whether it's picking up guns or getting in a car, because Bigfoot doesn't necessarily do that, if I'm not mistaken, so why would a dogman want to do that? A dogman walking around the road reading a newspaper, right? Like, I mean, come on. But I'm not trying to. I'm not trying to be negative about it. But I'm just saying, like, in terms of, like, if these creatures did do that in a sense of a violent outbreak, it would be astonishing. I would be terrified. I'd be creeped out. But I mean, I'd be freaked in a sense.
Mm-hmm. Why would you? I'd be terrified.
Absolutely. But yeah, I mean, Coop, to be honest with you, man, I'm going to be honest. I feel that if this were to be the case, it would be something that would occur not in our time. I feel that there will be some outbursts, there'll be some violent moments with these creatures, like any other reports, depending on how fictitious or in case genuine they are. But at the same time, I would also think that it wouldn't happen anywhere in a public area where the media and a military base is ready to draw RPGs into the friggin' forest and perform a napalm in your local suburban neighborhood.
You know what? I just wanted to get on to say really quick. If you really want static with one of these things, then pull your big boy pants up. This isn't directed to anybody specifically, but if you really want, if you want to see what these things will do to you, why don't you go out into the forest and provoke one of them? Don't actually do that. It's a really bad idea. But I mean, listen, the government cares more about whatever their agenda is than your life. So I highly, highly doubt that they're going to go out of their way to eradicate these things. If they wanted to, they would have done that already.
Of course. And of course, you know, that's yeah, golden, I guess you could say.
Sensei has spoken.
It's always good to speak to you, Sensei. Hope you're doing well. Welcome again.
There's Sensei laying down the law.
The goat. At least he thinks he's a goat.
Sure, he does think that, yeah.
Love you, Sensei.
I think I'm more of a salamander.
Yeah, gotta be a little slickerish. I got him. I dig it. Okay. Gary Boy. He goes, hey, Sensei, do you get paid from the VF? We don't ask personal questions like that, but I will say this to Nun's question. How come they were able to cover this up for so long? He's a skeptic. I want to answer his question because I like what he said at the end. He's a skeptic, and I like it when skeptics come in here. I like to talk with them. I don't say it in a sarcastic way. I like it because perhaps we can help each other out and understand more the bearings. Because some skeptics actually have some valid points on why one creature might not exist.
Do. Absolutely, they do.
So, Ryan, what do you think of this question?
Well, why were they able to cover it up? Well, for skeptics, it's easy to cover up when someone doesn't believe. You know, all you have to do is look the other way. You can dismiss every piece of evidence and just go, it's fake. But for those who do believe in it, they can't really cover it up so well, can they? You know, that you got to look at everything, though. You know, there's always parties involved that are trying to hide a little bit of all the evidence there's out there. You know, so for everything that we get, not 100% reaches the public. And that's why they were able to cover stuff up. That's how they do it. That's how they work.
Absolutely. And I agree with that. And also, too, if I might add to that, you know, in the perfect terms of how our society works, you know, it's not like these creatures necessarily, it's not like everybody sees one. I think people who do see them, there's a reason for it, but primarily, whether it's the wrong place, the wrong time, or if you want to get into the whole idea that it chose to see it for that particular reason, to be it covered up or be hidden for so long, it's very simple. Because it's very easy for these things to kind of be hidden, and it's very easy for, as we mentioned about the whole Big Brother thing, very easy to get people to shut up about certain things. It's very easy to do that. I believe in that. I'm sorry if some may not, but I think so. I'm sorry if people feel differently about it, but that's just me.
You could also look at it this way. It's kind of covered up because the human race in general is a very panicky lot. You know, and if all this stuff was revealed and just dropped on civilization, everything would be upset. Our way of life, what they have to teach us, our history books, everything would be disturbed, and they just don't want to do that. So in a way, they're taking us into consideration while taking them into consideration, but it's for their own gain.
Exactly. It's a very frightening thing when you think about it, but at the same time, I don't blame them in a way.
Same here.
Overbuilt automotive. Question. What's your all's take on the Bigfoot or may be even Dogman interbreeding with women? I've even heard an interview of a lady living in the woods with a mattress on a back porch.
Oh no.
Okay. Now, I don't mean to say, I don't want to sound like, I totally am goofed about this. It's the fact that this is the first I've heard about it, so that's just a genuine reaction for you. But yeah, I mean, a Dogman and Bigfoot interbreeding, I mean, we've heard of the forest brides, which was also popular in Willow Creek, the good movie. And also, too, about how people can be captured by these creatures and settle down, and whatever the case may be, for whatever. Some can say it's even an origin for how these creatures can keep continuing the crossbreed in the Gunga sense. But, Ryan, what do you think?
Oh boy, this is a loaded question, isn't it?
Big one. It's hard to explain. I'm still lost.
Wow. Well, all right, I will say that I could possibly see Sasquatch interbreeding with human females. That is possible to an extent, but genetics just don't work that way. Whereas Dogman, I just cannot see that. It's just not possible because even their offspring, if they were to, do the thing, it's not going to create a viable offspring. It's going to die.
It's very
hard to cover.
Cringy topic, honestly. It's making me feel uncomfortable, to be honest with you, talking about
it. It's cringy, but it's also a fascinating question to answer.
It is.
So
I'm not slamming this guy's question. It's a very good question, too.
I'm trying to figure out how I can actually word this politely without getting too disgusting here.
Yeah, I'm sorry, ladies and gentlemen.
Yeah, I apologize, everybody. I'm not trying to be offensive. If you take offense, my bad. All right. If a Dogman and a human female were to actually do the deed, could it create an offspring? No, because we do have to take zygotes and chromosomes and everything into account. It just does not work that way. Now, Sasquatch, it's more possible, yes. It's something that could happen, but it would depend on the genetics of that male Sasquatch. What kind is he? Is he derived from human ancestry, or is he purely animal? So, all right, as Ethan said, I made this creepy for the female members, so I'm going to go ahead and just end it there.
All right, yeah. I mean, to respond to this guy's question, I mean, best as possible. It's tough to talk about. We apologize if we disturbed you, but
oh boy.
Listen, full disclosure, people.
Speak into your microphone, please. I can't hear you. Please,
sorry.
Sensei, I'm sorry. I don't mean to be uptight with you. I just want to make sure everybody can hear you okay.
Roger that. Full disclosure, everyone. My old buddy, Peter Kane, who is my Lord and Savior. I worship Peter Kane. He actually had an encounter with the Sasquatch, and I think that he may be the father of Sasquatch offspring. Now, this is not confirmed, and this is not fact, but as far as he says, the deed may have been done, and he didn't even get a rumor. All right, I'm out of here.
All right, very good, Sensei. Thank you.
Oh, no.
They seem... Now, lightning strikes, goes. They seem to have more dimensions than we have to operate in and out of. Well, that depends. Are we looking at the 3D parallel dimension, the twisted upside down dimension? I mean, How do we know that they are in dimensions to begin with? It's a very tough topic. I mean, it's not as tough as discussing interbreeding, but it's a topic of which that is controversial. In my opinion, I believe that if a dogman, in a sense, is from a different dimension, then I would want to personally see this dimension. I would want to hop in this dimension. I want to see what's in the dimension that's distinctive and different from the dimension we're in. I do believe in some sort of parallel universes, but I don't think in a sense that there is a tear or a fracture to which they would come from a different dimension, or what in that case. I mean, maybe I'm looking at the question wrong. Maybe I'm looking at what you said is wrong. Ryan, what do you think?
Honestly, I would have to say that everything is possible with these guys. They could come from another dimension and have access to portals that bring them into other dimensions. It's been said, it's been theorized. So is it possible? Absolutely. Can I verify it? No. Not at this time. But hey, at least we're getting some laughs from our answer there.
Yeah, very good. Yeah, we did good here.
Little did they know they would tune in to hear Bigfoot, Brazzers parody.
Oh my god. This is why the Venomous Fringe is the attitude of the cryptid community. Oh man, that's brutal. Oh no, I just set off a trigger.
EW of the crypto world.
Oh Jesus. But you know what though? That's the thing about this show, man. That's the reason why I like doing the live shows. That's the reason why I do the show. That's the reason why you are on the show. That's the reason why President Kapalis is on the show as well. And
absolutely, that's why we're here, promising you little and delivering even less.
Exactly. And you know what though? And that's the beauty of the show. I'm just looking at Left-Handed Poncho's comment. I'm not even gonna get into it in a second.
I just saw that one too.
Oh man. Oh geez.
No. We're going away from that one.
Yeah, it was a hippo, I believe. But anyways, no, it was a gorilla. I'm sorry. Anyways,
yeah, it was a gorilla. You're thinking the second one.
Yeah, I was thinking the second one with the opposite way around.
Where the fan stops working.
Jesus.
Warm.
Oh, that's good memory, man. That was when I was just a tad lad. But no, I mean seriously though. I mean with Dogman and Evolution, with how they are in general, and just in general with the Fringe, man. Thank you guys for the support. I mean, we're an hour in, we're still going. Drop your questions, guys. We're still hitting them. Hey, man, it's Thursday Night Fringe. It's the paranormal. It's the cryptids. It's Q&A. We're joined by the gatekeeper, the master of the apothecans and the seance, Ryan Tremblay. Secretly, Julian.
Don't everybody know that?
Well, some people need to know. Some people need to know.
No, surprisingly, though, nobody's asked me about the Hobbits as of yet. I'm actually quite disappointed.
Ouch. Let me ask the community something. There's 129 of you amazing fellow individuals, 128 counting Sensei. I want to ask you guys, cryptids, what made you guys get into it, really? What made you guys really, what was it, encounters? Was it the start of things? Left-Handed Poncho had talked about xenomorphs, man.
Oh, thank God those things are not real.
Yeah, seriously.
Where's Ripley when you need her?
She's currently in, what's that planet in Avatar? I just butchered it, but you know.
Oh, yeah. I know what you're talking about.
Getting ready for Avatar 2! Oh, jeez.
I'd rather not, but, you know.
Yeah, it's been almost, 10 years, actually, so.
Right? A little late on the ball with that one.
That's crazy.
But
what's even crazier is the missing 411. And we have an interesting question coming from Chad Feresi. Do you think any of the 411 cases are attributed to Dogman or Sasquatch? I love this question. I think this is, and I don't want to rip on anybody here. This is not a rip. I promise everybody here, Fringeaholics, you know me. You can trust me on this one. The idea here is that I love when questions like this pop up in almost every stream I do because it's good to talk about. I like talking about this type of question, like we talked about with the whole globalist thing, the whole agenda thing, and the whole in general thing with just these creatures. Missing 411, man. I think that there are some cases that are attributed to missing 411 for both cryptids, Bigfoot, Dogman. I also think that there is a bit of a tide turn with it as well, one of which that is a bit transparent and a little on the offense with it being just a regular natural occurrence. Somebody can fall, get injured, somebody can easily be attacked by a bear. There's a lot of people I've noticed that go into the woods and do not know a lot of things about the woods, not slamming people, but I'm just saying, not anybody here in particular, but just, I've met people who go with people, other people, but if you're just going by yourself or just two other people, it's nuts. If you do not know what you're doing, at least. What do you think, Ryan?
They're just so good at dropping these loaded questions tonight.
It's beautiful.
It is. I think some of them are possibly cryptid related, not all of them, because there are far more dangerous things out there. Stop and think about how bad humans can be to each other when they really want to be. You have cults out there, you have people protecting their weed crop, their drug crop. You come across those guys and they're going to do some pretty bad things to you. But no, I don't think all of them are cryptid related. I think there's a lot of things going on out there that we just don't know about. And as you were saying, people do get injured out there. It's a dangerous place. One misstep and there you go. But no, not all of them. Maybe a small percentage. Not a huge percent, though. No.
Oh, absolutely. And I agree with that, too, because, also, one of the things that's truly kind of creepy in a sense is, but you're right, there's a good documentary on Netflix. I forgot the name of it, unfortunately, but I saw it a while back, involving a case of people who've gone missing in areas where there have been drug-related crops, and necessarily these places are in some deep, thick forest regions where civilization is miles away. So, what if people vanish and go missing because they run into areas that are not cryptid related and are human related? And then there's just a huge ball of catastrophic events. Your mind, it's left up for interpretation what you believe happened. But
agreed, definitely.
I will say, though,
we've had people go missing out in the desert here in Arizona, and we don't know if there's drug crops out there. It's possible, but the desert's a very dangerous place.
Yeah, it really is. It's not just, it's not just, I guess you could say, in the desert, you're not just dealing with just the heat. You're dealing with creatures out there. You're dealing with obviously scorpions, tarantulas,
rattlesnakes,
things that can bite you. And let's just say some guy decides to just walk around the area and didn't bring water with him, dehydrated, his car decided to leave it at home, and walking, and just happens to be so dehydrated and in heat, and a scorpion, he's so weak, happens to sting him. He's dehydrated, his body is weak, he's not going to be able to survive. He will probably die instantly if he does not seek attention or to the nearest friggin' car that can help him. But anything can kill you out in the woods.
And people do panic when they get bit by a rattlesnake or stung by a scorpion. Their first instinct is to run, to panic, and running actually makes the poison go through your system all the quicker.
Right. I mean, I'm not a physician, but I can tell you one thing, that if you are not at all, if you're in a hot degreed area and you have not had a drip of water, then you're screwed. That's all I'm going to say.
Really quick. You can dehydrate so fast.
I would find the nearest pond.
Yeah, good luck in Arizona. It's not going to happen.
Exactly.
Yeah, you're gone.
Where's Aladdin when you need him to wish you a wish? But
he's over with Disney getting remade into a live-action movie. Oh, wait. Never mind.
Ah, damn it. We lost him. But Disney. I am Sensei the Prince. Chris is the king. Ryan's the son of the prince. Ah, that means that Sensei. Ah, it's like Anakin and Luke. Very interesting bond right there.
Very.
I love tarantulas, Maud. Tarantulas are beautiful. What kind of, which ones? I had rose hairs. They were beautiful females.
All this tarantula talk is just, ugh.
I'm sorry.
I'm arachnophobic.
Well, I'll tell you one thing. I will say this, though. Nate Jones just said, I think I just heard a dogman howl outside my window. Did you now? What did the howl sound like, Nate? Let me ask you this. Did the howl sound violent? Did it sound distinct? As the silence is here.
Silence is golden.
It's always golden. Makes the cricket sounds.
It does.
But for like Dogman too, man. Dogman, specifically the big topic dog. It was faint, Nate said.
Oh.
We've heard some cases where they've had a very faint call, actually, but necessarily, I mean, where are you at, Nate, if I might ask you? And Titan has asked about the hobbits.
Oh yeah, I see that. Oh, Titan. They just keep them out because they can't see eye to eye.
That's a damn
Dogmen
shame.
don't want to have to stoop so low.
Huh. Kind of sounded like an American werewolf in London. Interesting. I mean, let me ask you this. Wherever you're at, I mean, let me ask you, I mean, personally, I can look up on the map now, your region, and of course figure out necessarily if there's dogmen in your area. You can have a dogman.
He's hearing something like that. Do not go outside alone.
Yes, please don't go out there. Please don't go out there alone. And if you do go out there, make sure you have flashlights. Vampire stories. I don't have vampire stories, actually. There's a few that were going to tell me some vampire stories, but it never got back to me, unfortunately. But what about you, Ryan? Vampires.
Oh, well, I do know of some encounters of Strigoi down in New Orleans.
Ooh, New Orleans.
Yeah.
I like New Orleans.
Yeah. Oh, people in New Orleans definitely believe in the Strigoi and vampires. They kind of romanticize them for a time, but no, to them, they're very, very serious. I wouldn't want to run into one. That's for sure.
Are you all thinking about a group investigation? Absolutely. It's always good to go out and explore. I mean, personally, and basically, not to just go about it, you know, you have me, Sensei, and Ryan, right? And us three, our plan would be to get together and, of course, do these investigations. Because it would be good. And to speak about, and to go and do research. It's an important factor here. This is what.
Yeah, you can join us, Titan. We do need bait. I mean, another person.
Be sure to put on a lot of gouge yourself and a lot of meat and cologne. We want to make you nice. Don't do that, please. Don't do it.
And leave all your valuables for us.
It'll attract more than a dogman or a Bigfoot. Have all the zoological wild animals of a certain area just come out and just attack. From all vicinities like Back County.
I think we're going to have to cover vampires here. A lot of people are vampire fans.
Yeah, vampires. I like vampires. I once, you know, aside from like the brilliance of cinema with vampires, whether it's Nosferatu or just principle making of Christopher Lee as Dracula, you know.
Oh, the Hammer films.
Oh, yeah. You know, vampires are such a legendary topic, man. Going back to the gothic horror roots of Europe, dude. I mean, vampires. What would be the case with vampires, Ryan? What do you think about it? Vampires as a whole. One of the most mysterious oddities in our history.
You know, at one time I might have said that they don't exist, but given all that I've researched and looked into, I'd be a damn fool to say that. I do think that there is something to it. I really do. Especially with the Strigoi. The Strigoi are very frightening, to say the least. So do I think Bram Stoker was onto something? Yes, Bram Stoker was onto something. Yeah, vampires could definitely very well be real. I will not discount them or rule them out. Do I want to run into one or see one? No, I'm good.
And I believe that there are people who do study that, and they are vampires, and they're in regions even close to our areas. I mean, anybody could be a vampire, you know? I mean, the person I can work with could be secretly a vampire. Well, it doesn't necessarily have to manifest teeth of fangs. they could easily be a vampire. There could be someone anybody can, and it's a scary thought about it. But you mentioned New Orleans about vampires. What are some things that you've collected in that region or about?
Well, there was actually a story of a college girl who had gone there on spring break. And while at a bar, there was this man who would not leave her alone. He was very persistent. He wasn't violent, but he was trying to be romantic with her, very complimentary, very touchy-feely. And she actually got a drink from him. He bought her a drink, or so she thought. Turns out he actually made this. There was something in that drink. So when she tried to evade him, it happened. So when she tried to run away from him, he actually showed up miles ahead of her, and he was waiting for her. And she claimed that, he went after her neck, and he was a vampire. He actually didn't have a reflection or a shadow. And it's just a very, very creepy tale. I'll be sure to find more information on it and present it to everybody here so they can hear it. It's actually quite terrifying. If you're a woman that goes out there, you're kind of going, oh, shit. You don't want to run into one of these.
Absolutely. No, I would be terrified. One of these...
And there's a story, too, of the Strigoi living in a family's home, literally in the walls.
How creepy is that?
Right?
Like, you hear these things at night, and if it's living in the walls, I mean, how freaky.
Yeah, if I remember correctly, I guess they had hired an electrician or someone to help fix the house, and he went into a little opening in the wall, and he didn't come out. He never came out of that, but they found his camera, and on his camera there was actually a picture of the Strigoi nest.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Imagine how creepy the live in the walls and just to sit there and at any given second come out and kill somebody or, in general. And
that would be... Oof.
Oh, man.
I think it's the same story, too, where the little boy woke up and a Strigoi was standing above him while he was lying in his bed. And he screamed, and the minute he screamed, this thing just moved with ungodly speed.
Oh, wait a second. Some people are saying lost tapes.
I think it was something from that, yeah.
But see, I think also, too, though, with lost tapes, and I thought it sounded similar. I mean, I'm skeptical of that show. I don't think necessarily a lot of things on that show have been legitimate in a sense. I could be wrong, of course, but now that I think about it, that does sound very familiar now. But I mean, I do believe though that there could be a case where vampires could easily find the creepiest and the most sacred spots to be in somebody's home.
Definitely. Well, I agree with that. Yeah, they definitely could.
Someone mentions Flannel Man. What the hell is that? I'm going to be honest, like, I mean, like, for a second, like, the Flannel Man, what is it? Like, I've never heard of this before. Ryan, have you heard of this before?
I can't say that I have, no. I'm interested in it, though.
I am, too. I know it kind of sounded like I was vague with my response to that. I'm just taken aback at what this is, Flannel Man.
And drop some info, that'd be great.
And just for the record too, I mean, for me, I think a lot of reality television, whether it was lost tapes or, in terms of just in general, whether it's finding Bigfoot, I mean, I'm skeptical of certain aspects, but I believe that the people that are on the show, they are researchers, but at the same time, I mean. Lost tapes, though, I believe was like Blair Witch or Cannibal Holocaust. Found footage, something that would be scary, something that would be put out there just to scare people on Animal Planet. But while we know about lost tapes, I would like to know what the Flannel Man is. Is it a creepypasta? Someone says creepypasta. Now, it sounds like it's a creepypasta actually, and and if it is, then damn, because hey. Let me look it up, actually. Because I'm curious to know what it is. The Man in My Bedroom Window. Okay, yeah, it is a creepypasta. So, of course, if that were to be in case legitimate, or not just a horror story, then,
Well, it does sound interesting. I'll have to read up on it later on.
Well, Flannel Man, what I'm looking at right now, is The Man in My Bedroom Window. It's a creepypasta from the Creepypasta website. And it's just basically a story of a dude who wears a flannel and wields an axe. But bam.
Okay. So basically every serial killer from the 70s horror movies.
In a set, yes. the good old Prowler. Or Madman, to be exact.
Yes.
Don't make me get back on the air tonight. Well, Sensei, please come back. We like you.
I don't like you. He does, but I don't like you. No, I'm kidding.
Yeah, we got a secret agenda there. Final Man sounds like Captain Sweatpants. Yeah, that's true. After he's done eating his 8 donuts. I hear Sensei.
Ryan, you'd better like me. I'm the one that gave birth to you. Listen up. Flannel Man is a man with the pan, with the thing in his hand, like Toucan Sam.
There you go. Since they cleared up for us.
I will explore the Flannel Man, but of course, we'll see what happens.
Yeah, we'll research it, and then we'll, if we find something interesting and it's worth talking about in an episode, we'll cover it. If not, we'll probably bring it up in another live stream.
By all means.
Sounds interesting enough.
Gunga. Talk a lot about that new background, that staticky, very found footage. Look at that. Isn't that something that you're looking at, folks? Isn't that, the beauty of the Fringe? Unpredictable at any cost. But of course, nonetheless, Flannel Man will look into if it is, of course, a topic of interest. I think it is an interesting topic if it is indeed what it is to be. But we'll have to wait and see. Ryan, there was a thing I wanted to ask you earlier, and I never got to it, was what do you think of this mysterious Dover demon? Massachusetts, Boston.
Oh, I heard all about that thing growing up. Oh boy. Well, I actually do think that is rooted in supernatural origins. Yeah, I used to have the theory that maybe, just maybe, it was a alien gray that eluded capture until it was actually rescued by its own kind. But I heard about that thing so much when I was growing up. There was so many urban tales about it. Everybody would tell you about it. If you just give them 5 minutes to talk to you, they'd be like, "Oh, Dover demon." So it's a very fascinating topic. It's just interesting how the sightings stopped so suddenly.
Yeah.
Which does make you wonder if it just went away, moved on, or, like I said, got rescued.
Indeed. And I think, with a lot of the history surrounding it, man, for 3 sightings or so and then to vanish like that, it was like, well, it's one of the lower tier cryptids, I think, that would be something of mystery. I mean, you said you said you might believe it's a supernatural creature, and do you believe it because it's the sake of it being just something in general with the behavior, the way it looks, or just how it is?
Not just that, but if you look into the history of Massachusetts, there's a lot of things that happen there. So it's possible there's some kind of spiritual origin taking place because, it had the Salem Mass, all the witch trials over there, and with all that going on, maybe something manifested within Massachusetts, and that happened to be one of them that was only there for a very short time.
Absolutely. It very is. And Salem being another hot spot in Massachusetts, is so much history, so much lore.
Yeah, for anyone that's been to Massachusetts, then you know what I'm talking about. Like, every town has an urban legend. They have all kinds of beliefs about supernatural occurrences. It's chock full. It really is. It's a very interesting place. If you've never been there, go visit there. Don't live there, though. Just go visit.
Follow those words. Sensei, do you have anything to add to this if you're still here?
Yeah, no, I'm just listening in.
Oh, good.
Yeah. I'm just kind of sitting here.
Well, it's good to have you here, Sensei. It is.
Oh, thank you. Good to be here. Governor Gumpless himself sent me here to see your sufficiency.
It's also very good to have Ryan here as well. Ryan, thank you for being a part of this, as well as the gatekeeper. Thank you for keeping the gates nice and clear with our keys.
That's my business.
But yeah, no, Sensei, what is your views on this, man? I mean, a Dover demon. This is something that we're going to be touching in pretty soon, actually, if I'm not mistaken. So,
Well, the Dover Demon's something I want to learn a lot more about. The sketches and illustrations I've seen of it just like make me want to piss myself. Like, so with that being said, this is something that I really, really hope was mistaken for something else. Because if this thing is legit, oh boy, ain't that something?
ain't that swell?
That's a scary looking thing there, isn't it?
Dover
The
demon,
interesting
folks.
thing about the Dover Demon, though, is actually all the descriptions all match up. They don't really vary in any way.
Descriptions are very close and very similar,
Yeah,
and they're not different. You know.
that's actually very striking right there.
Yeah, that makes it even more likely to be real.
Yep,
Um,
agreed.
so that's something we're going to be tackling soon anyway.
Tighten Up has a question. He says, "Is there any documented evidence of cryptids in the Egyptian hieroglyphs or other cultures?"
Uh, I don't know. I'm not really sure. I mean, there is Anubis, which many tie Anubis to Dogman. So, with that in consideration, I would say yes.
Well, I would think so as well. I mean, besides Anubis, but it's hard to really pinpoint. I mean, when we go back to Egyptian times, you know, you're dealing with a time period with a lot of ancient history, a lot of ancient evil, and that type of mojo where anything was possible. But even in the hieroglyphs of just what it is now, you know, we're
Mhm.
looking through it, we would have seen more about it, I think, at least.
Yeah, I think we might have seen a little bit more.
It would be in textbooks like the Anubis is.
Oh, yeah.
It'd probably be the closest thing we get to a historical text involving some sort of dogman-like creature.
Well, it kind of makes you wonder if we already do have that in text. You know, they're talking about Anubis so much. But do we really know much about Anubis? I don't think so.
No. What do you think, Governor Gapalis?
Um, I don't really have an opinion about Anubis, to be honest with you. Um, I'm sorry. I'm looking at the comment section. Um, I'm just gonna sit here for a little while. You guys know for everybody that's listening. If you're wondering why I am not participating tonight, I'm not feeling well at all. I'm just trying to be here for the guys and for you guys. But that's why I haven't been talking tonight. So I'm a bit out of it. If you're wondering why I'm acting like I'm out of my mind, it's because A, I am out of my mind, and B, I am not feeling good. So I have
Yes.
no idea what you were asking me. I'm just gonna sit here.
Always return your girl. How do people sense dogmen during the wintertime? As it's already dead quiet and there's no bugs and birds and animals making chatter to begin with, or at least in the actual colder climates. What do you think about this one, Ryan?
I would think if a dogman wants you to sense it, it's going to make some noise so you know it's there. Otherwise, you're not going to know it's there until it's too late.
I think
Unless it walks up and taps on your window, maybe, which is a possibility.
I agree. I think in general, you know, it's what you just said. I would say the same thing. It does make sense.
I'd much rather a dog man walk up and tap my window than walk up and bite my head off.
Is that true, Sensei?
Yeah.
Sounds like a true thing. One of the Titans requesting the Dover Demon be popping up on the screen. I'm going to show you the original sketch, one of the biggest sketches, I believe, of this Dover creature. And I have to say, it's interesting.
Ethan actually has a question for us too. What plans on future plans on research? For now, just looking around in my area, Ethan. Eventually, I would like to save up so I can get together with some people and we can go into different areas.
We're going to be blocking out the chat real quick, but for everybody who can tune into the screen right now, the Dover Demon, one of the most mysterious creatures in Massachusetts. But real quick, if I might also add on to Ethan's question, research-wise, we're still doing research. I'm still doing some small investigations around my area. There's going to be a lot of presentations coming up pretty soon. But overall, though, that is the current rundown with research. But now, I'd like to be introduced to Dover Demon. Dover Demon, as Titan had said, put him on the screen. That is the sketch of the Dover Demon, testimony given from one of the eyewitnesses back in 1977 or 78, I believe. Overall, though, it's a very interesting sketch.
A very unique looking cryptid.
It's like the mixture of a chupacabra and an alien.
Mm-hmm.
Lizard man, reptilian. Let's see if we can pull up another one of the Dover Demon. There's definitely some interesting sketches some people have taken some good photographs of. Not of the demon, but like renditions and whatnot. But I don't want to give away too much on the Dover Demon because he is a very beautiful creature which we will be exploring. But overall, though, folks, I mean, with the Dover Demon and an exploration of it being a sense, there is something to it. What it is, I have no idea. But it is a very creepy creature, one of which very mysterious. But folks, throw in your questions. What is your thoughts tonight, Venomous Fringe? Ask me anything. Ask me the most ridiculous question you might think of, and I'll give you the most interesting answer to that question that's ridiculous. But of course, overall, there's no such thing as a stupid question. We're joined here this evening. I have Sensei here. I have Ryan here. I will say this, the interesting thing about tonight's show, introducing the content and what's coming up down the road. I would also like to give a big shout out to Dave Weston. Now, Ryan, would you like to talk a little bit about more? Nice little shout out to this individual who has also thrown out a good plug-in for the Venomous Fringe.
Yes, Dave is a very, very good friend of mine, and actually he makes some very interesting videos. If you're into ufology, history, and things like that, give him a check out on WeRF. He's very good at what he does. He's got an interesting narration voice as well. So I think you guys will like him.
We'll gladly throw some links down below at the end of this stream to his YouTube as well. Very interesting as well. So, yeah, folks, throw these questions down the chute. We're going to give you some good responses. Always return your girls, goes. Anyone believe in supposed battle going on between a dogman and the rake? I've heard a couple encounters of them, but I wonder if there's truth to it. Well, there was the big skepticism on the BDRP about the Dogman versus Rake story, and there was some controversy around it, concerning the validation around it. If there are cases of the rake, I believe it's a skinwalker or something of a supernatural nature. I don't believe the rake is the rake from the creepypasta that people are misinterpreting. But if there is a creature of that nature out there and it did square off against a cryptid like a dogman, it would be believable, but at the same time, I would go in it with a little bit of skepticism. What do you think about that, Ryan?
The rake is actually something I used to question a lot. I used to kind of doubt that it doesn't exist, but if it does, it's going to have to be something supernatural. It really does, just the way it looks. So that would fall in line with the skinwalker as well, but I don't know. After that whole story of Dogman versus the rake, I don't know. With all the controversy behind it, I'm still kind of leaning towards it's not entirely real, but that's just me.
Oh boy, I'm away.
Yeah.
Listen, I'll say this. There are a lot, and I'm not throwing shade at any fellow YouTubers.
Speak louder, please.
Yeah, I can barely hear you.
I'm not throwing any shade at any fellow YouTubers, but let me just say, a lot of the time, videos are made um, with one intention, which is to get likes and to generate revenue. Here, we're truth seekers, um, as as are many other channels. So when it comes to the rake, the way we broke it down in the past and will continue to in the future is definitely going to be different than a likely, and I say very likely, fabricated story that we're referring to. Like I said, I'm not throwing any shade. These are my own thoughts. Doesn't represent the channel, but um, there's a lot of BS out there about everything, Dogman included. So, when you have a lot of fluff out there and you mix it with real evidence, it muddies the waters and it makes it a lot harder for people to decipher between what's real and what's fake. And people will usually discredit that information going forward.
I agree.
I concur.
Thoughts on Slenderman? Rick Does Wing Chun says, well, Rick, I personally believe it's a creepypasta and nothing else. Ryan, Sensei, anybody want to contribute to that?
Same here. The same here. It's a creepypasta that was just made really, really popular, and soon people started, quote unquote, seeing it everywhere, and yada, yada, yada. Yeah, it's non existent.
Tighten up, Goes. What do you guys think of the wolf at the Skinwalker Ranch that took point blank fire and walked away? Hyperbole? What do you think, Ryan?
Ooh, I didn't read about that one yet. That sounds interesting.
Yeah, Titan, can you throw us with some links? Where can I find that? Because I'm curious to read it up. I want to look at it. I want to get the dirt on it because it sounds interesting. Could the rake be a mistaken Sturgoy? What do you think, Rye?
Given the description between the two, no. No, not really. I mean, the rake just, it's too Wendigo Skinwalker like. Sturgoy aren't like that. As we do a show on the Sturgoy, you'll see more what I mean. But no, I don't think it's a mistaken identity for that. So, I don't know.
It's a tough one.
Maybe a ghoul. It could be a ghoul if it's real.
What is the least paranormal state in the United States? That's a tough one. I'd have to say, I guess... man.
That's the hard question.
There isn't one. That's my answer for you.
There we go.
That's a sensei answer, so that's all state stands. Are you in good hands?
Meow.
Sounds right to me.
I mean, personally, I would have to say that each state has its own paranormal activity, to be honest with you. I mean, the least paranormal, it depends. Because not everybody is in certain regions and know about other regions, maybe the next show on the Strogoy. Never say never. Definitely see about it.
It's possible.
Very. Ever see Hunt for the Skinwalker? Never, Dempsey. But what I do know is it seems to be an interesting flick. It's a flick, if I'm not mistaken.
Is he talking about the film, or is he talking about the abandoned guy who does the Hunt for the Skinwalker?
I think both. It might be actually the latter.
Oh, okay. Well, the film I haven't seen yet, but if you want a good laugh, go check out that guy. He's got some very interesting stuff.
Would you like some fries with that?
Very loosely. If you want to laugh, if you're looking for some comedic effect, go watch that.
What do you think about the Maryland Goat Man? But before I get to that question, Dreamland Orchard, Chad had said something about the Thinker Thunker Strange Howl videos. Now, Ryan, we had talked about this too briefly, as well as Sensei. What these howl videos, the Strange Howl from what he's talking about, Thinker Funker. He was referring to these vocalizations of a creature that makes these very frightening screams. But in my opinion, I don't believe these screams are Dogman. I believe they're Bigfoot.
Yeah, I would say those are more Sasquatch in origin, not so much the Dogman. It
Yeah,
was a good quality recording, though.
I didn't gather any Dogman vibes from it either. It didn't sound like it was coming from a canine, so or a canid.
Mm.
But I'm not so sure that it was Bigfoot either. I mean, I have no idea what it was, to be
And
honest.
that's kind of the $1,000,000 answer right there, because it's you don't see anything on screen. You just hear screams. The screams,
Right.
because of the way it's shot, you can't really get a good make out of it. For anything, it could be just wind. But I mean, even then, it's hard to make
I mean,
out.
for wind to make that kind of sound, though,
But
ooh,
I'm not saying it is. I'm just saying, for all we know, it could just be something so little, and it could be just a play on the
yeah,
technology of the camera. It could play. It could, because
good
sound
point.
quality can sometimes be so distinctive in dynamics, and it's how it's processed on certain devices. And the way the sounds are heard, it seems like it's been filmed on a modern, whether it's a Galaxy or an iPhone. But I mean,
That's a good point. That's a very good point. Because if you ever listen to traffic noise off of a freeway or something, it can actually make some pretty eerie sounds.
here's a true story. I thought I had heard what sounded like material, like very violent screams coming from my vicinity, when it wasn't that. In fact, it was just simply the sound of a 24-wheeler just turning its friggin' wheels. It sounded
Yeah,
so violent because it doesn't sound like a normal truck at first,
perfect example right there.
and it
And when you
creeped
have
me out.
big trucks mixing with smaller cars and other big trucks, it does create a very unique dynamic.
No doubt. And I have to say, I mean, for what it's worth, I mean, we can easily mistaken a lot of these claims to just be something else.
Hmm.
And it's possible. I agree. I think it could be
I learned
something.
that the hard way when I first started doing investigations. I used to hear all the sounds from the traffic while I was in the woods, and I used to think, what the hell is that? I'd be all terrified. Then I learned, oh, okay, it's just the traffic making the sound. It's nothing in the woods with me. All right,
It's a very
good to
frightening
know.
thing. It's really
Hmm.
interesting. Tighten Up goes, hey Ryan Sensei, have you guys had any ghost encounters?
Yo,
Great.
I didn't. You cut out at the end of that. I just heard the clicks.
Ryan and Sensei, have you had any ghost encounters?
When I was younger, I actually talked about this on my first appearance as a guest on the show before I became part of the show. Um, so the room that I am in now used to be an empty space when I was a little kid. Um, and I came down here and I I walked in and I saw like a clown, like a guy with a clown looking mask, or not mask, but the face, like the face paint of a clown. But he was wearing like a pajama, a pinstripe pajama onesie, and like I thought it was my grandfather from behind. um my grandpa has white hair. Anyways, so this dude had freaky looking hair. I saw him, I was freaked out. And I turned and I screamed and I went to run, and then I went back just to see if my grandpa was messing with me, and there was nobody in the room. And when I went back, like I ran to my staircase, the bottom of it, which is like 4 feet away. And then I was like, wait a second. I went back, because I was really young. I was like what, like 3 or 4, and I was like, wait, is this my grandpa just messing with me? Like, grandpa, what are you doing? Type thing, because I wanted to know, who that was, and I didn't really have much fear as a kid. The paint, the clown face is what scared me. But anyway, so I would go back in the room. There's nothing in there, and that's when I really took off. I hauled ass up those stairs, something fierce.
Wasn't expecting that.
It's always good to deliver the great sense of clowns. I don't like clowns. I have clownophobia. Or whatever that
Yeah, I
phobia
don't
is
like
called.
clowns
Like
much.
clownophobia. It's crazy because I was able to watch Joker, but that's different.
Yeah, I hate clowns, but I love the Joker. That's kind of odd.
Isn't that strange? Like, really?
It
Like,
is.
how does that make sense to somebody? But hey, I guess they get what they deserve, huh?
I think it's because we were exposed to movies like Killer Clowns from Outer Space.
Ah, yes. Or the scene in Scary Movie 2,
Yeah.
with the clown getting tickled. Oh man, Ryan, have you had any ghost encounters? Anything paranormal?
I've not
Clowns
had
honking at
any,
your
thank
ear?
goodness. Yeah, I've actually never had any ghosts or anything like that. Now I'll just stick with my Dogman encounter. I don't want to encounter any ghosts.
I think after the Dogman encounter, you don't want to go into any ghosts. I strongly don't blame you.
Right.
Dreamland Orchid goes, what do you believe or what do you think about the Maryland Goatman? Well, I've covered the Maryland Goatman on the show prior in September. Very interesting creature. I believe the creature is possibly an evolved satyr, or could even be something far more in the time period of that era in the golden age of vintage Europe. But overall, though, I think the Goatman as a whole is a very interesting topic, one of which is a mysterious creature on its own. I don't know too much about it. I think there's not enough dirt sheets on it. You only just hear that Frankenstein origin story about it being a genetic experiment from a mad scientist. But, I mean, personally, it's one of those topics that has truly stuck with many. It's terrifying, to say the least, but it's a very hot topic. It's one I've always wanted to really explore furthermore. What do you think about this one, Ryan?
You took the words right out of my mouth for that one.
Oh, see, look at that, folks. I am a mathematician and a mind freak, primarily. But, I mean, I can't be too far from the dark on this one. I mean, it does sounds like something from the ancient lore.
Oh, it does, absolutely, yes. And it matches all the descriptions, too, that you read about in books and you see on drawings and whatnot. It's perfect. Perfect match.
It's very, in a sense, brutal.
Mm,
We all
I don't want to see that one either.
ugh, we all float
I'm
down there,
good.
Georgie.
Yeah, no. You can stop doing that now.
Yeah, no, we don't want to do that. That's a scary thought.
Mm.
Clowns.
Hey, listen up, buddy. All right, I shared an encounter, okay, and you're over here playing clown music and the little horn. I don't really appreciate that, Chris. I'm gonna have to call my buddy Peter Kane and tell him to get in contact with that Sasquatch female so she can give you. I didn't say I
Very
And
much.
she won't give him a rimmer.
Oh yeah.
didn't
Ooh.
even give me a rimmer.
Oh, he was too soft on the guy. Oh man.
Careful, watermelon-headed kids might actually find our way to you.
Oh god.
This live stream is gonna get. We're gonna get a strike from YouTube for this.
We are.
You know what though? But let me just take a second to just say something real quick. Because it's YouTube and because of the things that have been going on, and to be serious for a moment, I mean, look, a lot of our fan base, a lot of the people who watch the show, you guys like it, you stick close to it, you enjoy what we're listening to, even though that, yes, we could be a bunch of JOs sometimes, or JAs to be exact. I'm really calling you guys something evil by saying the other word, but, in terms of what we do here on The Fringe, we're a live stream. We have fun. It's okay to joke. Behind these microphones, we have personality. Behind these chairs, we're researchers. It's okay to have a laugh. It's okay. Take some Smarties, eat some sugar pills, and go about and be hyper all day. That's the beauty of it. But
Here.
point is, it's why we are here, to interact with the fans and have a good time. And anything else to that, have a raisin.
A raisin.
Hey, it's good for you.
Rick wants to know, Dogman versus Goatman, who would win?
Goatman.
Dogman.
What?
So Goatman isn't
Dogman.
Goatman isn't even real. No,
All he
You're
needs is his axe.
I'm sorry. If all right, if is actually a paranormal entity and Dogman is flesh and blood, then I don't think that fight would really be too fruitful. I don't think we get much out of it. And
There
also,
really wouldn't be a point to it, would there?
no, yeah, I don't think that fight would go down.
I
But
think they might just see one another and go, "Oh, you're there. Okay, I'm going this way."
yeah, I mean, if it went down though, I got my money on Dogman.
Yeah, same here. I'm going with my boy, the dog man.
Yeah, well, I'll tell you one thing. That dog man is going to rip that goat man to death.
Yes, he
Really,
is.
I mean, honestly, I mean, the dogmen, they have high advantage. They have teeth. They have these large, giant teeth that can easily, if they don't have gums, they have teeth. All they gotta do, take one nice little bite, and kaboom, there goes the goat man, and that game Goat Simulator now becomes Dogman Simulator. I'd be scared to death if something ever, I would actually want to play something like that, to be honest with you.
Do you imagine actually witnessing that though, or being stuck in the middle? Ooh.
It would be a scary thought, dude. I would not know
Would
how to
you
get
want
at
to
it.
root for a winner? I mean, do you root for anyone, or you just run away, or try to run away?
I mean, if I have a chance to run away, I would run away. I just don't know how necessarily this creature would respond, how quick I'd be running away from it.
Hmm.
Because if anything, it can get done killing the goat, but I'm a witness, and next thing you know, all I hear is stomp, stomp, stomp coming right through the dirt, and there goes me.
Exactly. Yeah. Now just do yourself in harikari.
I'd open the magical portal to the other verse. If only that would be the case. I will say this, though, and Sensei brings up a good point about something, too. I mean, you know, the whole Stranger Things universe, the Demigorgons and whatnot, what's going on in that universe. I mean, Dogmen is no different, and it's such a scary thought.
True. It's very true. Oof.
Yeah. Only difference is there, it's all front and center, because I mean, it's a TV show, but if you look at it um
A
from
scientific perspective.
yeah, and also
It
from
would make for a fascinating world.
yeah, it does. So I don't know. I mean, I just wish that our universe, or at least on our planet, um information was more readily available, and like these encounters were something that were covered in the mainstream.
Mhm.
uh but even in the Stranger Things universe, I'm not going to give away any spoilers for those that are new to watching it, but I mean, there's obviously tons of cover up and stuff like that, just like there is in our world. So like Chris said, I mean, it is the same essentially. I mean, different creatures, same same type of deal.
Interesting sound effects over there.
Hey, he delivered it perfectly. It's always good. No, on all fairness, though, it is always good to hear everybody's insight. And I think, you know what, even if the question is a bit goofy in a sense, it's a good thing. Not a question, even if what is said is goofed, it's always good.
They're all good questions.
Venomous Fringe is familiar. Are you familiar with H.P. Lovecraft and his monsters? A little bit, yes,
Ooh.
actually. What about you, Ryan?
Oh, I love H.P. Lovecraft.
It's a
That guy
very
is the
interesting.
goat.
It's interesting.
Though we won't mention what he named his cat.
Shit, no. We yeah. You want to go look up interesting facts? Look up what he named the cat. Go on Google. But
Don't do it while there's kids around.
please,
You'll be okay.
please.
Oh, I mean, we're far beyond that. If there's any kids still watching this show, heaven help you.
No, we're okay. We're okay. Just, doing our
After
thing.
after the Bigfoot, no, yeah, true enough.
Oh, Sensei, that wasn't even graphic. We could have got much more graphic with that. We
Yeah.
could have, but we did not. We refrained.
Very well.
Mm-hmm.
Well, we're going on hour 2 here,
Oh, already?
Titan goes, Chris, peel back the onion on Skinwalker Ranch. Do a show on it. Of course. I mean, onions make me cry though. Not really.
I'm allergic to them.
Oh damn! So there's no way we're gonna get through it.
Well, you and Sensei can do all the work, and I'll just sit back and go, yep, you're doing a good job, boys.
Just need an orange. Orange is the cure for everything.
Right, exactly.
Or as high pitch Eric once said, wine.
That works too, in large quantities.
Yeah, no doubt.
Copious amounts.
Oh no. Yeah, we want Sensei to go to Skinwalker Ranch, preferably run around and deal with the clowns.
God knows what we're talking about with H.P. Lovecraft's cat there. Oops.
Oh, HP.
Chris,
I'm sorry. Go on.
Chris,
What?
if I hear another clown reference, I'm gonna pull out the Let Me Step On. Right, so yeah,
Calm down.
yeah, you didn't like that, did you?
No, it's the principle of if it's really a bother to you, man, I'm not talking about it, but it's all good.
Oh no, I'm not bothered. I'm trying to pretend. I'm trying to be a triggered millennial. Isn't that what they call us?
Okay, well, that's easy.
Triggered millennial. I'm so sensitive, dude. Oh, like for real, dude.
Go on.
No, I think I should honestly get off the air. Like I obviously don't feel well. My sleeping medication is making me talk loopy. You guys are probably like, what the heck is going on with Sensei today? Don't worry. Don't fear. Governor Gumpliss himself is here, accompanied by Lord 𝒓𝒂𝒏𝒐𝒓𝒂𝒍 and the Royal 13. But you would not see it if you would not be before. I didn't like to mention it before, as he was your brother and all, but the moment I laid eyes on that young fellow, I said to myself,
Alrighty then.
Well, I'll tell you one thing, folks. With the beauty of it all, Skinwalker Ranch and all, we will be covering some episodes with that. But I want to go ahead and I want to just take a few minutes to say a few words to some amazing people, including some currently in the stream right now. Folks, I just want to go ahead and just say to everybody tuning in, we don't normally do a lot of shows as much anymore. Not because we don't want to. It's the principle being that it's, whether it's time or just in general, what we're going to be going about, it's the opportunity, it's the beauty of sitting down talking to each and every one of you. It's a great honor. And what I always try to do with the show is I try to be distinctive. Even though that in our community, there's always going to be some negatives, there's always going to be some deselections, some dividends. We're all here for research. We're all here to find the answers. We're all here to deliver the truth. We're truth seekers. We might be able to BS once in a blue moon like tonight and have a good time with all you fantastic people, but we're also serious about what we do. And I want to thank each and every one of you for sitting down, the 110 of you tuning in, to sit down and to talk with us. We've got more content coming your way. I would also like to take a second to thank my guest and co-host tonight. You know, Sensei has been brand new to the show in a sense. Our last live stream was actually when I made the announcement that he was our newest acquisition. But, you know, Sensei has been a big supporter of the show. He's done a lot. He's been, he's went out of the wing. He's done a lot of good things. I respect the guy, and whether he's listening to this now or thinking, he's a bunch of BS, in reality, you know what? He's a good guy. He speaks a good out for it. He knows what he's doing. He's brilliant at what he can come up with, as you guys can hear. But I want to thank Sensei for doing what he does and deliverance-wise. And Ryan, too, man. Ryan, moderator, supporter of the show, the gatekeeper, now on a bigger level of the fringe. He is one of us, as everybody else of the wolf pack, from Tighten Up to Ethan, to Left-Handed, to Tanya, to Whispers. There's so many of you amazing folks who've stuck with us for so long, and I want to thank you all. Big time. If you guys have anything to say to add on to it, go for it.
Couldn't have said it any better myself. Thank you for that, Chris. I appreciate it. And it's an honor to be part of the show ever since you brought me on. It's been a dream come true for me. So it's an honor and a blessing to be here. I've always been a fan and always will be a fan of you and your work, and it's surreal to be working with you alongside you. And it's an honor to have Ryan with us now as well. So the future is looking bright, and I just want to thank everybody that's here, everybody that has contributed to the show and supported us, and gave positive vibes and open doors of conversation. We really appreciate you guys. We appreciate the loyalty, and we're gonna make sure that we deliver for you. We got some great stuff coming.
Got anything you want to add to that, Ryan?
Very well said, you guys. You guys said it perfectly, actually. But yeah, I just want to thank everybody here. Everybody here is great. Julie, Titan, left-handed. Yeah, I like to joke with these guys. These are my buddies. So stick around, though. We got some good stuff coming your way.
And you know what, too? At the end of the day, love us or hate us, we're here to deliver you guys the information and everything best possible. There's always going to be some controversial dirt sheets. People will love us, people will hate us. It's normal. But guess what? We are the Venomous Fringe. We have the attitude of the cryptid community, and we of course know that we are here to deliver the best and known to the mysterious macabre in our world. You're listening to the Venomous Fringe, live from the Fringe Tower. I'm your host, Chris Fringe, joined alongside Sensei and Ryan Tremblay. Good evening, good night, ladies and gentlemen. We will see you next week for more content on the Venomous Fringe.